murdered child, horrifically strewn in a deep leaf pile. The scent of his stench does mean his stay here has been a while. Absolutely dead, certain, his skin so sunk and sullen. There is no sign of struggle, no tussin, nor no tullin. What is left of his face, I place his age right about 8. A few leaves away, his dead sister, mother, father lay. They have been smashed and cut several times by something blunt. Their makeshift grave is only what is a quickly dug rut. Follow the many bloody hoof prints. Further down this trail, you see a lost dog sniffing where another family's feet failed to outrun the killers who do kill for more than sport. For these killers, they win no prizes, they just get to keep killing more. Some of these killers kill when they are not allowed to take. Other killers kill for whatever little sense they can make. In these times of evil, one must never tamper with the flame, nor point an extended finger pointing out those who are to blame. For he who stands high and tries to shine is never truly right. This is the land where evil is allowed the only light. In this, the village of Whatsworse, never is a laugh out loud. There are no quiet inward smiles, only outward forced frowns. And laughing the least is he who awaits a fictitious trial for not possessing desire to kill a man, woman, or a child. Instead, he is pegged to trees by these, the sick and the vile. Then he is mocked while being rocked, and then slowly set on fire. Understand that the new king here likes to keep the laws simple by making them up or by adding unadaptable wrinkles. Meaning, verdicts are pre-written, saying, guilty as charged, and it is into the way of the wind one blows after being charred. These deaths may to many seem as nothing but senseless. It is when the king tires of jesters joking that he presents the test, where men must choose between either not breathing or to help the king abuse any honorable deed that once was deemed as pure and true. Yes, off is the head of anyone teaching the goodness of values. To kill with or without reason is what keeps this king amused. In Whatsworse, despite the loss of lives, the population soars. For when women of all ages are raped, the babies are born. And she who can born no more gets an unceremonious burying. It is the constant fear here that keeps this cycle circling. And it is fear's condition mark that adds terror to the light and to the dark. It makes steps seem uncertain, and to the nerves adds that sudden spark that can make a fruit-filled stomach knotted with a rotting, rarely found. Fear elongates head echoes, highlighting the unfamiliar sounds. Fear plays with tears and works like a chisel to add wrinkles around the eyes. Fear ages one quicker than abuse of drinks such as malts and wines. Fear has a way to make a strong man childlike and meager. And those bound to the ground, never will you find anyone weaker. And fear is here for sure in this, the killer-controlled village of Whatsworse. So never leave a loving look, nor anything that may merge into a brotherhood amongst neighbors that could form a bond, a unitedness wherein numbers may be able to surround some of these killers who can then be killed hard or slowly starved. Yet, this is the exact kind of threat that makes these killers carve deep into the face of anyone who thinks they will not go dagger deep or sword swipe throat wide to end all suspicious plots. So, to do group in the large numbers is every peasant's plan. But those who stand ready to gather end up as filler for the quicksand. Simple sayings such as "come round for tea" is best left unsaid. Killers listening thinks this meaning you wish the kingsman dead. Killers cut ties by living in and behind the huts that house peasant families forced to live as holed up as does the mouse. So do not tempt, nor even try to vision running off somewhere where the beauty of everything is in the beauty to just freely stare. For guarded are the treetops that have yet to be cleared away, and each forest path leads itself in circles, leaving you feeling betrayed. Then well and exposed one must go into the killer's corral, where daily beatings remind you that your escape did not go well. Murderers, these warders, in this because the king said so state, where guardsmen who would rather kill cook food outside the open gate. They know hunger lures man's mentality, not by sight, but by scent. And starved men do walk blind from pen, and thus to death they are condemned. Tired from killing men, so like all men, killing men must sleep. A captive man crawls under wall into the tall dead berry weeds. These dead berries were a fruit, but sweet or sour no one knew. For the slightest taste turns your blood to paste, so all die choking, trying to spew. Curling like the vine, he winds his way along what is growing low. In the freedom he seeks, there's a peace he knows he will never get to hold. This peace has vacancy. The ousted occupant was hope. Hope that had lived with bright morrows now hangs by sturdy hemp rope. When a man who has never killed sneaks away from men who have, thoughts of being caught accompany words wished on one's epitaph. Quietly pushing through the weeds, he suddenly jumps to his feet. An undesired encounter with a guardsman makes him fack and freeze. Eye to eye, his nerves begin to rack, and his energy drains. Then the guardsman's face pains, then drips a deep blue dead berry stain. Falling backwards into the weeds like an old brittle tree, the guardsman lies dead, but lies dead with the look of utter relief. You see, a lot of killers think that if they kill, the guilt will be small. But if killing makes you think, then you should not kill at all. The captive man puts blood and mud on his face and anywhere else he can touch. To mix amongst the kingsmen really does not take too much. He is there to kill a king and end his bloody reign. For this king cannot differentiate between what's real and what's insane. Finally, face to face, the king and the captive man. A fight to the death, the survivor inherits this red blood-soaked land. It is here in the village of Whatsworse where the final fight was fought, where two hands became sickeningly severed, and where life was lost. So very blood-soaked was this hill, where the blood spills. Wretchedly tortured is the killer, who can now only mill. Above the mound, where all around does nothing except remind of the vicious sword blows, the rock throws, and now the tightly twisted twine that was wrapped so tight that it reinvigorated his fight, to not be he who is left to become food for the ground mites. So, though twine tied from sword's grip to wound round both his wrists, above him the king with this sick tourniquet continues to twist and twist. First went his fingers, they swelled, and one by one they just split. The stronger man laughing, showing off his sunny side of bliss. Hands so squeezed it left his knuckles veinless and bare. His eyes bulge as does a fire's hot coals as they burst into the air. Now with the final turn of the sword that twists with twine and might, the laughing man with torqued hands watches the severing sight. As the twine does finally find its way through the bone's marrow, off go the only hands his limbs will ever know how to grow. To the ground in a mound, two hands land in a red sticky spooge. Sword drops too, as the king awaits what to a victor is due. Most times, when victory is within one's grasp, all you can do is laugh, for it becomes easy to dismiss the battle's end and rush to the treasured map. But when the treasure lives in the land of a dying man's lungs, seldom are you able to sneak his last breath by his still beating tongue. Now one can only imagine the largest increment of pain. Very few are able to see self go from able to being maimed. A fountain amount of blood spurt from where once fastened were hands, staring dazed yet unfazed, like he has one last morbid plan For never was the will to kill another ever needed as much. So quickly vaulting up from the dust by using a tree as a crutch, just enough was the thrust of his bleeding severed stump to rip up through the small of the king's back and pierce his heart's pump. Now to say a fully flooded river always floods its banks, then the blood that gushed could turn something sinking into something sank. And sunk was his arm, horrifically stuck up to the elbow. His thoughts jaunting from this dead king to flowers to boats he knows he can never again ever row. He places his feet above and below his stuck, jagged bone. Legs pushing hard off this dead man's back, who could possibly condone? For it is the heart's meat and the rib's bones that held this menacing grip. So like a fit of violent weather, he is pulling and hoping from this grasp he can slip. Blood may curdle one's color, but it mostly lubricates its tone. When you are in another man's innards, only one fact need be known. To enter is the step that may prove one is indeed mighty. Yet, when one must exit, never again is he sane nor holy. With a smack, the blood flies fast on his face that's now a mask. The bone releases and teases by making all seem as if in the past. But the real, live, yes, the living view suggests all is not well, nor over soon. He sees his bleeding, and he knows what it means is he too is doomed. And for the murder to show in his eyes means his heart is as pure as snow. For bitter remorse is the cold emotion a true killer's eyes would never show. And the slump in his posture means he killed while crippled up with rage. And to now stay bowed surely signals his end upon life's stark stage. And when theater is no longer in session, there is no crowd to amuse. It is only one's memory that is forced to act on the horrors it has viewed. And so, blood drop by drop, he becomes less and less a man. True, he killed to save his life. He still knows he will die as damned. For to take a life means you have taken what you've had no right to take. It matters least if you killed out of pity, or if you killed for Christ's sake. His true sense of glory finally begins to come alive, but only as he dies. For man's last act of bravery is in the final, forever closing of his eyes. Battle of Whatsworse by L.D. Green. Happy damned day.